Tennessee's seeding is blank. Caleb Calhoun.
Tennessee's seeding is fair. It's right where it should be.
Yeah. I mean, we're supposed to say it's crazy. It's way too good. They looked out for the Vols. But no, I think it's about what it should be. So this is how it would project. Tennessee and St. Peter's in the first round. And then I'm going to break down St. Peter's for you guys here in just a second. I did a lot of research last night, so you will know them. And it's a team Tennessee should beat, clearly. But they do have an inside presence, which is a little bit scary because that's cropped up as a problem the past couple of weeks against Kentucky in the SEC tournament, if you believe they didn't throw it. After St. Peter's, it would be the winner of Texas and whoever plays in one of those opening round, first round games. Tennessee, Texas, I'm sure this was an accident in the second round. They didn't do that because Rick Barnes coached at Texas. Caleb, you hinted at that yesterday, but that's crazy. They wouldn't do that. It's about 1 through 68, and you seed them where they should fall. It has nothing to do with storylines, Caleb. Sarcasm.
You're right. The NCAA tournament is never a TV show. And it's, particularly since 2016, 2015, when they started televising every single game, you can actually watch all the games across the 4 networks now. So you can't miss any. They don't think at all about
we're being sarcastic
like that. And yeah, it's just, it doesn't happen, guys. And this would be a Saturday night matchup if Tennessee played Texas, where you'll have a lot more eyeballs because a lot of people, nobody will be working. Everybody's going to be chilling, watching the games on Saturday night. They'll be at bars and parties. There's no storyline here. By the way, also, this game would be in North Carolina, which is where Rick Barnes is from. So Rick Barnes from North Carolina, coaching Tennessee, potentially against his former school in Texas. Yeah, the NCAA tournament didn't do that on purpose.
Absolutely on purpose. Absolutely on purpose. Hit like and subscribe now. I think we have a record number of concurrent viewers, so we're excited about that. If you're new to the channel, please hit like and subscribe. If you're kind of new and haven't set up your notifications, do that too. If you're on one of our audio platforms, please give us a review, but make sure those notifications are on. All right, you want to take a look at St. Peter's here because there's a preview.
No, let's talk about the seating for a minute, a little more.
Okay, let's go deeper into the seeding. Sounds good. So who would they potentially face in the Sweet 16?
To start, I want to actually stick with the Texas thing for a minute because Texas, they went out of their way to kind of even give them an easier path to play. So Tennessee is an assumed easy path because they're a 2 seed, right? Yes, 2 seeds lose. You guys don't need to come at me about that, but particularly, Dave, you would agree that if you're a 2 seed, you're expected to immediately advance, right?
I think they've only lost 5 times in the history, maybe 8 at the most. So yes, and I think a 1 is only lost once. So
twice.
Yeah, you should win twice. Is it twice now? You should win those games 99.9% at the time. Robert says, stop looking at my St. Peter's. So stop looking at my St. Peter's.
So
you know what they need? They need our favorite name. The kid who played at Washington, I can't remember his name all of a sudden.
Michael Penix Jr.
Yes.
Playing at St. Peter's.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Michael Penix with an incredible 3 for St. Peter's. Nothing hard about that shot. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You think they played Longwood this year? Okay, sorry. Okay, so what I'm saying is, so the Tennessee, they're expecting to just immediately advance. Texas gets to play Texas is one of the 2 7 seeds that will play a play-in winner between Virginia and Colorado State. So they'll already be tired before they play Texas, which gives Texas a more clear path to face Tennessee, right?
Yeah, they need to move that. They need to move that first round just to the site of the tournament. And I know they want to have it in Dayton because Dayton's a basketball mecca and all that stuff. I've never understood that. But they need to have that. It's easier to play back-to-back nights than it is take a day off in between.
Yeah, you're probably right because at least you're kind of rolling with adrenaline at that point. So if Tennessee were to advance, guys, Tennessee should be very thrilled about their draw because the other 2 high seeds that would be in their way to the Elite 8, the 3 seed in the region is Creighton. Can you ask for a better 3 seed, Dave?
No, Creighton is funny to me because Creighton's always the team. This could be the year that Creighton's the Gonzaga. This could be the year that they make the run. That never happens. It's never happened.
Never.
It's never going to happen. Creighton is going to be a respectable program. But to take a jump like Gonzaga did and go from not even to being a mid-major to being considered a major in basketball, Caleb, that doesn't just happen. You got to do that.
Yes, Creighton did, and I want to be fair, they made the Elite Eight last year, but that's the first time they ever made it under Greg McDermott. So, like, and Greg McDermott's been there for 14 years. They don't have that run in them 2 years in a row. I'm sorry. Mid-majors usually don't have that run 2 years in a row. They have it 1 year. So Tennessee should love potentially playing Creighton. If they don't play Creighton, their other potential opponent would be South Carolina. Now, I think we know Tennessee can beat South Carolina. They just did 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't play South Carolina, they would play an 11-seed Oregon or a 14-seed Akron. So they're either playing a 3-seeded Creighton, a team they just beat 2 weeks ago, or an 11 or a 14 seed. If they can get past the first, Texas might be their toughest foe to get to the Elite Eight, guys. And they're in a bracket with Purdue again. And they played Purdue earlier in the year, which is kind of intriguing. But Purdue, like Tennessee, Rick Barnes allegedly does this. Purdue also practices their team at full strength into March, which is why they flame out a lot in March.
Okay. What do you think of the Purdue matchup if that happens?
I think Tennessee is much better now than they were when they faced Purdue back in November. I think in November, Tennessee did not learn. You pointed this out, Dave, a while ago, which was last year the offense was dependent on shooters coming off high pick and roll screens, right? Mm-hmm. And catching and shooting. This year, it's built around it's a high-low motion offense with Jonas Aidoo and Dalton Connect and Takai Ziegler setting it up. And Dalton Connect being the
Scobie is a terrible fit for it, but that's a topic for tomorrow. Go ahead.
Right, exactly. When they played Purdue, they still weren't used to the high-low motion offense. Rick Barnes never really ran much of the motion offense until this year. Most of his offensive scheme for years has been the flex, which for those who don't remember, that's what Bruce Pearl ran. That's part of the Tom Davis, Gary Williams coaching tree that they ran back in the 80s. So Rick Barnes was a flex with some motion, and he fully adapted to the high-low motion offense this year. And Tennessee took a little while to figure that out, and that's why they struggled at times early. This ain't the same team that played Purdue in November. Purdue, I think the stereotype still stands that they don't do well in the tournament. I'm a big believer, Dave, and I think you are too. Defensive first teams are not tournament teams, right?
Oh, okay. Defensive first teams. I like good defensive guard play, which is one of the reasons I like Tennessee with Takai Ziegler. Everybody talks about guard play and nobody mentions defense. By the way, get back to your defensive-oriented team in the NCAA tournament. But I want to remind people that you can vote on our brand new poll question that's on board. Do you believe Tennessee makes the Sweet 16 or better or flames out in the first weekend? Brought to you by Don Self, a State Farm. Customer service still matters. For 40 years, Don Self has built their business on taking care of their customers in the greater Chattanooga area. 423-396-2126. That's 423-396-2126 or donself.net. donself.net. Now, I can't remember the last defensive-oriented team that won it. Well, I mean, I'm going to go way back. I'm going to go way back before your time, and you're immediately going to say to me, wait, that sounds stupid. But there's something to this. The UNLV team, now they were loaded offensively. Larry Johnson, Ogman, all those guys. That's going way back. They ran an amoeba defense, which was essentially a 4-man zone, and then oftentimes Ogman or another guard would just go play the ball. I thought they were so innovative and athletic defensively that if they couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, they were going to have a whole lot of success. I got to be honest with you. That's the last defensive team that I can even manufacture that has had success in the NCAA tournament. Is anybody else?
There's defensive first teams that have won it since then, but the difference is they were elite offensively. Like, let's be fair. Virginia, the Tony Bennett Virginia team in 2019 that won it, they were defense first, but you watched that team, Dave. They were very efficient offensively.
Yes.
If they needed a bucket, they could score.
Well, and all those Princeton teams, you could say that they were defensive oriented, but really with the back cuts and all that they did, they could manufacture points despite being athletic. So all those teams that did that placed an emphasis on defense, but they never won anything either.
Right. What about Nolan Richardson's Arkansas team, the 40 Minutes of Hell? Was that offensive based at all? Or that seemed like that was just the whole team was just press defense, wasn't it, for 40 minutes? But and they won a title doing it.
You're talking about UNLV?
No, Arkansas with Nolan Richardson.
Oh, okay, yeah. But again, they're kind of like UNLV. They were so athletic and good offensively that it feels weird calling them a defensive-oriented team. But you're right. It was 90 minutes of hell. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, so I kind of – so long story short, when there are defensive teams, they're still major threats offensively. Kind of like in football. In football, until recently, we always said defense wins championships, right?
Ooh,
but
Lamont with a good one. I'm sorry to interrupt. Georgetown.
That was the 80s, 85.
Well,
and they also have Patrick Ewing.
I know. We're going way back, but I mean, that proves your point. I'm having to go to the early 90s with UNLV, and it's a reach. I'm having to go back to Arkansas, which was the late 90s, and that's a reach.
It's like, okay, think about it this way. It's like with college football where, they always find like that team that was offensive oriented that went to championship, and they'll say, see, defense doesn't win championships. It's like, yeah, but those offensive teams were still loaded defensively in college football typically, right?
I think here's the best one on there, actually, other than Georgetown, which I would pick Georgetown, but that's been 50 years ago. Jan said North Carolina before the shot clock. So I think of Dean Smith, and I may be going before your time again, Caleb, but I'm sorry to be the old man on the YouTube. But those teams, who was the only player or who was the only person that could hold Jordan to under 20? It was Dean Smith. Those teams were defensive first, but Dean Smith only won one title or two? And
he won two, and one of them was in the shot clock era.
And that's like Calipari level of success, where you've got to look back and say, did he underachieve? You're at North Carolina for 30 years, and you only win two?
And also, they may have been defensive oriented, but that first title he won had Michael Jordan, Sam Perkins, and James Worthy.
I know. It's like UNLV in Arkansas. It's really hard to make that argument.
But, it's like when people say that.
Standpoint, I think Jan's right, don't you?
Yes, philosophically, you have a point, but then there's still like these teams aren't like, it's not like they're not threats offensively. Again, that's why I went back to football. People talk about the 96 Florida team in football saying, oh, Steve Spurrier was all offense. Yeah, that team also had Javon Curson. How many elite defensive freaks that were scary to face in football at the same time, even if they were offensive focused. I mean, this is the thing. You can focus on one side of the ball, but if you're great on I'm not saying you can't be a defensive focused team and win. I'm saying you can't be all defense and win. That's why Jamie Dixon and Matt Painter have never won national titles or gone that far.
Nope.
Or Gene Katie back in the day.
I agree. And that all the teams that we mentioned to try to play devil's advocate do not fit that mold, except for maybe Georgetown. I'll give you Georgetown. Great on the message board, but even mine and UNLV and yours in Arkansas, I mean, that's not defense only. I mean, I don't think of that as like Iowa in football in the Citrus Bowl.
Yeah. And by the way, some people will come and say that, John Calipari is defense only. No, he's not. John Calipari just can't coach at all. So he just relies on his players' athleticism to be good at defense.
There's a lot of truth to that. And when they want to play D, they're good. Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards to ensure you only receive the best in CBD or Delta products. Go to Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com, Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Use the promo code HOOKED for 10% off. That's the promo code HOOKED for 10% off. On our poll question that is on the YouTube page, and yes, Rick Terry is a superstar. I don't know why he said that, but he did. I'm honestly expecting Tennessee to blank. Choices are flame out in the first week of the NCAAs, Sweet 16 or better. Caleb, again, don't peek. Have you peeked?
I've not peaked. What
do you think our fan base says? What percentage?
I think it's another 75-25. 75 Sweet 16 or better. 25 came out.
Nobody likes anybody that's right all the time. Yes,
guys, it's really hard for me to be wrong.
Yeah. Okay.
We're about to discuss St. Peter's. If you guys know about Peter the disciple in the Bible, he denied Jesus 3 times. You don't deny me 3 times.
Did you just... Caleb just compared himself to Jesus, everyone.
Do not deny Caleb three
Not
times.
not only can you get football, baseball, basketball info here, you can also achieve eternal salvation. Right here, hit like and subscribe.
That's
if
through
you would
Few
like.
Freeze, guys.
Yes, turn your notifications on, and you will be in heaven. It's just that simple. Do leave us a review. We joke.